Alright guys, now that I'm retired, I've got some time to do some catch up. Okay, so this wiring harness and computer was from a prior video of, getting at a YouTuber's wiring harness and computer tested or to work, whatever, I can't remember. In July 2025, my grandson and I went to Chrysler Nationals in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And then on the Sunday before we came home, we went to Virginia to try to get this guy's Hemi Cuda running. So it's a 5.7 Hemi with this wiring harness and this computer. So this was the same stuff I had tested, sent it back to him, and he still couldn't get it running. So went to his place, spent a couple hours in the hot sun under a little tent, and it was too hot. It was over 100 degrees, and I just said, let me just take it back home, put it on my stand where it's cooler and I can figure it out. So here we are. I've got it all hooked up. I've got it wired into my stand. I know the stand's a mess. I know where every wire goes, and what might be hanging isn't hot, so it's all hooked up. This is that yellow start wire. The computer says I'm getting a start signal to start. I've got the battery hooked up. To the stand, the starter, starter wire, everything you've seen before, main switch, accessory switch, ignition and fuel pump switch, okay? I also have the starter switch going to the starter, but then it also goes to a relay. I've got another relay wired in just to energize this wire with a clean signal off my accessory fuse box. That way this signal is clean and not attaching with the starter button solenoid going to the starter. Because, the starter, it's a big coil. That solenoid, when it releases, it shoots a spike out, which will blow electronics. So I've got a clean signal. That push button is triggering the relay. Relay is shorting my good power source to the run wire. I've shown it in my videos. I always have a push button or something that activates that wire, so when I'm using my scanner, you can see that the computer sees a start signal, okay? And I have it hooked to the button. So, quick rundown again. With this setup, fuel comes down through a pre-filter, then it goes to my EFI pump, then it goes into the side, because this is just another Corvette filter, Corvette style filter and regulator built into one. This is the input, that's the output, that's the return. So my return is the blue hose, goes back up, dumps to the top of the fuel cell. Okay, output goes to another high pressure post filter, goes up, and then now I have an adapter, 6AN adapter to 1/8 inch pipe thread, so I can see the gauge, and then another number 6AN going right to a plastic hose barb fitting But once you're finished to install this stuff in your car, you can get all these fittings off eBay or wherever. Because here's another Corvette style filter. I've got it marked the in, the out, and the return, which is the middle, okay? Usually you'd get all the little fittings that go with it. These are screw-on type, number 6 to 3/8, and number 6 to 5/16. And they're all that style fitting, which is like, you know, that style with the little crimp in the middle that locks it on. But let me show you this. With that style fitting, I wanted to check pressure because I'll sometimes use this style fuel pressure regulator I have on my Cuda, and then I have a gauge. So if you get one of these 6 female, 6 male 1/8" pipe adapter union, then you can watch your pressure to know you're getting 58 to 60. So I'm gonna turn this on, show my voltage. This is my accessory. This is my fuel pump and ignition. You can hear a handshake. This is my prime button. So when I press this button, it bypasses the relay and sends the 12 volts right to the pump. Okay, this is my blue wire, which goes to my fuel pump right here. The blue wire running down. Okay, so I'm gonna press the fuel pump prime button, but watch the gauge. See, it goes up and it stops at 60, and right now it's fully pressurized and still running. So it's telling me that that fuel pump and that regulator is regulating right to 60 psi if this gauge is accurate, okay? So since I pressed the button, you see it go up and stay at 60. Okay, so let me turn this off. So this engine's been sitting for about 6 months, and you know how bad the new gas is. So I use my tester that I had in the other videos, and I already went down and tested every one of my injectors to make sure they clicked. You know, cleaning your injectors by tapping on the side, see if they're clicking or stuck, okay? So I've got that video out there if you need it, if your injectors aren't firing. But I just have a little pigtail that plugs into there, 2 wires and a switch and a fuse. I hook it right to my battery, and I'm able to test my injectors, make sure they all click. Because if you have an engine that's been sitting for a while, they're going to be stuck, glued by the gas, okay? So, with his wiring harness, I could not find my large pedal, large connector gas pedal. So I made an adapter. This is off another pedal in the junkyard. I just ripped off this connector here, so I could make a pigtail adapter. And I verified all these wires are the same pinouts on the small connector as they are the large gas pedal connector. This here is just for my small pedal I found in the junkyard off a Patriot or something. So I took the wires, I took the connector just so I could troubleshoot this later, and I made an adapter because their wires, instead of having the 5-volt supply on each end and then a twist in the middle like this, here's your 5 volts, here's your 5 volts, your apps 1 and 2, they're kind of right here on the ends, 2 in the middle, 2 in the middle. So it's different on the Patriot, and I think it's a Jeep Liberty gas pedal. It's a little smaller, but I wanted to get the connector so I could see the pinouts. So if anybody has the pinouts of a Jeep Liberty or Patriot gas pedal, please put it in the comment section, because I think I plugged this in and it wasn't reading correctly when I did my test. But to verify all these wires, I wanted to verify all the plug wires. Pins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're marked. They're marked on the end. If you look real close, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there it is. Let me try to zoom. See the numbers 1 through 6. Okay, so 1 through 6. Starting with pin 1, it's the 5 volts orange connector, pin 29. So with this engine harness, with this connector, if this isn't plugged into that, you will not have continuity when you check your pin 1 unless that is plugged in, and then it goes to the orange connector. Okay, the orange connector is right here in the middle. Orange connector comes from the engine harness. This gas pedal connector comes from this side of the harness you're going to make up. It plugs into the C100 connector. Then it gets to the orange connector. All these other ones can be pinned out or tested for continuity, because those are going to stay on your side of the wiring harness you made. The only one that goes through the engine harness is this C100 pin 12, which is over there, and then orange pin 29, which goes through, comes back to orange pin 29. If you look at your PCM pinouts and you're looking at the end like this, the pins are 1 through 10, and then there's only 9 pins on the 2 center sections across, and then 10 more pins on the bottom. So that's how you would count. Let's say orange pin 29, it would be this bottom pin. So with my continuity meter, I just use like a safety pin, and then I shove it into the orange connector, or pin 12 on the C100, just so I can check continuity between pin 1 and that pin. And then you just check all the other ones too. So I just went over the gas pedal. I'm going to insert a video here that won't have any sound, where I'm syncing the gas pedal. I'm learning the gas pedal movement to the PCM using my auto reader. Okay, so you're going to watch that. Fast forward if you've seen it before. I go in to service. I'm selecting the throttle learn positions, and then I'm doing the movement where you're pressing the gas pedal and you're watching your throttle blade open up. So I'm inserting this video here, and there's no sound. I'm not adding any my voice to any of it. Just watch what I do to go through the cycle. But that's learning the throttle pedal, and then it's actuating running the diagnosis to move the throttle body, which I've shown in my other videos. Okay, so I'm inserting that here. All right, let's check for fuel pressure. I've got the relay pack. One's ASD. This is the fuel pump. I've got the wire from fuel pump relay now running to the fuel pump. So let's turn this thing on. I've got the accessory on, the main on, and then when I hit this switch, fuel pressure should go up for the pumping on for what, 5 seconds? Let's watch. And there's the handshake. So now that I'm pressing the button, that should go up, meaning I'm getting my pressure, and the PCM is seeing a cranking signal. Okay. That's the first step. I'm verifying fuel pressure, verifying handshake when I'm holding the turn on the ignition and pressing the starter switch. So now I have to use my phone to check that the computer, the reader is seeing the signal from my yellow wire that's telling it start. So I've got to use the phone for that to verify that next. All right, I'm going to post the diagnostic of the engine run wire, telling the PCM to turn on. It'll show high and low on the switch on my relay that is powering this yellow wire. So I've got the start switch powering the relay. The relay is getting power off the fuse block. The fuse block, the relay is now supplying this yellow wire, which tells the PCM to run. Everything else checks out. His computer, his wiring, his engine harness. Show pressure. Gonna turn it on. That's my oil pressure light. Oil pressure light comes on when that oil pressure switch grounded. When it receives pressure, it stops being grounded, turns off the oil light. Turn the ignition on. Again, hit the start button, which remember also supplies the starter and supplies this yellow wire. So if this starts, we'll have fuel pressure. ASD relay is giving the coils power and the injectors power. Everything should stay running and it should start right up. So we're going to hit the lights, hit the starter button. Oil light should go off for showing pressure. Alternator is not hooked up to the battery, so it's just battery. and the PCM. So let's see what happens. Hitting the button. All right, that's all we need to see. So I'm gonna mark every wire. Fabian, you see this wire is hooked to 12 volts when its starter's being pressed. Fuel pump, nothing else to hook up. Your hot wire to the battery, your ignition switch to your key ignition switch. Yellow wire tells the computer you're going to run. And what do I have this orange wire to? That's my ignition switch. So I'm going to wrap it up just like this. Do your pedal learn. I showed you how to do that. Do your pedal learn. Make sure your throttle moves with the pedal. Hook up your yellow wire, your key on wire, your hot wire, and your grounds. Everything runs just like this. So I'm sending it back to you. You'll see this video if you're notified, because I'm going to post this tonight. Your computer, your wiring, your engine harness runs. Okay, hopefully you'll have that Cuda running. I'm going to wrap this back up, send it to you, and if there's anything else I need to add to this video before I upload it, I'll add it on. But this thing is ready to go. I don't know why your stuff didn't run once you got it back, but you see it runs with mine, okay? My engine, all your wiring, your PCM, the way I sent it to you before, everything should go, except this is my pedal. You're gonna plug into your own pedal. I don't know what else to tell you. This thing fires right up. All right, good luck. Take a video and let me see what happens. And give me a call, maybe we can FaceTime or something, but I just showed you everything I did to test this out, and it fired up as soon as I hit the start button.